Okay, hey everyone. Today I am going to draw a few portraits, but I'm going to study them first like I did in my first few videos here on YouTube about drawing faces easily using kind of the method to look at angles and lines and shapes, and then how I distilled it to be something that I call now my mask method. I'm just setting up a little bit here, trying to get the chat window to show up. I haven't seen any of you guys join just yet. This is interesting. There must be a little bit more of a delay today. I'm gonna go ahead and get this pink color out. Gonna decrease the opacity of the reference so that we can see the lines that I'm going to draw over it. Get my phone out of the way. Oh, this is odd. I still don't see anyone here. Maybe it wasn't a good idea to post a story. I did a story post the first time today, so that might be taking away some of the algorithm's push to this video, but you know what? I'm still gonna do it. It should be fine. Hey Rumor, hey Jam. So I'm gonna start. I don't want to start before there's at least a few more people. Hey Fun. Hey Robert. Hey Rose. It looks like there was a little bit of a delay for YouTube to start showing this to people. Okay, there's a good amount of you guys. So yeah, this is the reference I'm going to use. So I'm right now going to focus on getting the overall shape. So you want to just use bold lines for this. We don't really need to be too exact. So you can kind of see how basic head shape is made. There's a flat line for the chin, and then two lines for the jaw that are angled, two slightly altered vertical lines for the side of the face, and then you've got two for the forehead. It usually comes down like this with a hairline, like that. First time here. Hey Blue Fantasy, thanks for subbing. Oh, hey Magda, Poland, that's awesome. Tracing, how could you? Venerable. Yeah, so now I'm not going to focus too much on anything else but the face anatomy for today. And so now I'm going to simplify the eyes. And so eyes really break down into this shape, so especially for Caucasians. So this is the basic shape. You have three lines for the top of the eye, and then two for the bottom. But that's even a little bit more complex than necessary. I don't know if I want to go that complex. Let's see. I think I'm going to simplify it even more for the sake of this. And I'm just going to do it like that. With a lot of styles, you can simplify the eye to just two angles like that. And depending on where the angles are and the perspective, you can kind of change get a different look for the eye. Because with this, we're just trying to study the anatomy of the face. So for the nose, this nose is turned down. So how I want to simplify it. There's a bigger V shape. Trying to think through how I want to represent it. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. So the first triangle basically represents the thicker bulbous part of the nose, and then these are the wings, and then how they slowly kind of come up to the top of it. Yeah, you're welcome. That's good. Tracing. Yeah, we're studying the face. I'm sure most of you have seen my how to draw faces easily video. So what I'm doing now is basically that, showing you guys how it works. So this girl's a little bit interesting because she's got a smile, and it's kind of a non-symmetrical smile, so we're going to try and simplify that. So the mouth is simplified like that. Basically the mouth is like this every time. This is the basic, like a super basic diagram for the mouth would be like this. Right, just two triangles. Then you can get into adding this part for this area. Then a lot of people have angled parts like that. And then a lot of people show kind of two masses down here. But we're going to stick to the really basic form for now because we're focusing on getting, looks like Procreate's frozen. Okay, we're going to stick to the basic form for now because we're going to focus on getting the proportions right and the locations right. And then look at how you can, even with those, you can start stylizing your character. Sasha. Oh geez, what did Sasha do? I didn't even see that. Oh wow, that's a lot. I haven't seen her before, maybe, I don't know. Hello, Stefanja. I can't read Korean, but thanks for joining. So now, for this lip, I'm just going to draw a flat line. Because I'm doing a little bit more complex because I want the character to come through and I want to be able to replicate that when I do my own sketch. So far this is how it looks. So this is kind of dry, but we're going to use those shapes as like a placeholder for our own design. So the eyebrows can be simplified like that. This should also show you why tracing in and of itself is not a good idea to use to try and copy drawings. Because if you trace it, it can look very bland. Like this looks very boring. So you can see the eyebrows are basically these trapezoids. Now for the rest of the head, I want to kind of show you guys how the head would be shaped. If we were going to look at the parts that are covered by the hair. So that's that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do something similar, but I'm going to stylize it a little bit. And you're going to see how I kind of approach not only studying the anatomy, but also twisting it into something that's more creative. Let me look at the comments for a little bit. I'm not drawing anyone specifically, it's from my Pinterest page. I actually should link it so that people who come back can find this video. So bear with me really quick, I'm going to find a link to my Pinterest. Alice, this isn't just a sketch video. This is to show people how to, a tracing video, I mean, this is to show people how to study anatomy, and then we go from scratch. So stick around, I'm sure you'll benefit from it. Yeah. 100 face challenge? not really. I don't have I'm not really interested in doing that many portraits per day, but I am focused on drawing faces right now, but not at the rate as described in Ahmed Al-Douri's challenge, because I'm more interested in developing my sketches a little bit more, and if I were to do 10 a day, it would be pretty rough right now for how much time I have. Okay, I'm about to post in the description so that you guys can see it if you haven't seen the community post. So if you look in the description now, hopefully it's updated. Okay, so back to... So I'm starting with a line to kind of center myself. It's kind of tricky sometimes. I get annoyed when this line isn't head on. Okay, so now I'm going to start out with a basic head shape. You're going to mark the top and the bottom, which is always a good thing to do. Give yourself a limit so that you don't go off the paper. Start off with a flat line, like we did in the beginning. Start off with the jawline. The two sides. Being able to draw something symmetrically is a challenge, and it's definitely something you should look into trying to master, because it's a valuable skill. It helps your hand-eye coordination. You saw me erase that line just there because I noticed it was a little bit, the proportion was off from what we drew over here. So now I'm going to pick just about here to draw the, what do you call this? The widow's peak. I'm going to come back down. And do that. Right now I'm noticing her face is a little bit off center. So I'm going to try not to use the lasso tool too much. I'm just going to erase it and redraw it. With me, I notice that I'm a more I learn as I go type of person, so I draw, I notice a mistake and I make changes. So right now I'm noticing her face proportionally, it's a little bit more squat than hers is, so I'm going to pull it down a little bit. Oh, that's weird. So I'm going to pull it down just a little bit, so it's the same proportion. This line should have been a little bit longer. So we're starting off there. I'm going to draw the rest of the head. Now the goal with this isn't to, draw a girl that looks exactly like the reference, but the goal is to just do something that has the same qualities of the reference, but in our own style. So now we've done that rough outline. So I noticed that kind of at the edges of this line right here is kind of where her mouth starts, kind of where those two angles are. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing. Make sure these kind of line up. And I'm going to draw two little dots for where I think the corners of the mouth should be. And I know this one is higher, so I'm going to draw this one a little bit higher. Then I'm going to draw a place where I think the bottom of the nose should be and the top of the nose. And then the hardest part is placing the eyes. So one thing that I do sometimes to help is I go back here. And this is usually a shape that's on most people's faces, so you see there's always like this flat triangle that's at the top. Oh, the music is too loud. Okay. I can definitely fix that. How about that? Is that better? India. Thanks for joining, Dev. Yeah, I've noticed I've gotten a very large push in India from the algorithm. I don't know why. I'm considering getting some subtitles in Hindi, because I think that's the most popular Indian language in India. I don't know if it would be worth it, but yeah. We will put the D in Jraw. Hey, Psycho Rabble. Yeah, what time is it in India? Oh, 23. That means it's... Oh. You're 12 hours ahead? Or 11 hours? Yeah, you're 11 hours ahead. Jeez. Or 10 hours. Okay, so back to the drawing. So that shape kind of helps, and so I'm going to turn off the background to kind of see how it looks. So it's about up here. So I'm going to draw a horizontal line like that, and a triangle. Similar shape. I feel like the distance between there and there is pretty good. And I'm going to do some loose circles for the eyes, because I just want to really start getting a feel for it without committing too much to the shape. Because I do encourage you to draw like this, because instead of drawing the eyes and then just moving them back and forth, you want to develop a skill that's you can use traditionally, not just draw and depend too much on the magic of the undo button and the lasso tool in digital art, you know. And so I want to take a moment here to go back to this and do another layer and show you the overall anatomy of a face. It's something I should have mentioned. So when you have a face, the big planes are like this. So I'm actually gonna make this even lighter. These are where the big planes are. So it's like this. You have a face that's like an egg, and then it's cut like that. Yeah. You'll see a lot of masks in like sci-fi. If you look at a lot of sci-fi designs, you'll see masks have this general shape. So it's like you have that cut out, like a visor. And then there's another kind of cutout like this. I'm gonna tilt it because it's easier for me to draw a straight line like that. This is why you see me rotating the canvas a lot, partially. So this thing right here is often called the beauty triangle. And that's basically where the human face lives inside. So you have a shape outside of it. The nose is in the first one, this heart shape, the diamond shape, and then the mouth usually stays within these two lines. Sometimes it goes outside, sometimes it's inside, depending on the race or the style of the person's unique look. Yeah, so, and the nose is usually right on the bottom of it. That's how I like to remember it. It always helps me. So if I hide the picture, let me quickly see if I can erase this so you can see what I'm talking about really easily. So like, this is what you kind of like need to learn to see in people's faces, the overall shape and then those two shapes. And I'm sure some of you who might be a little bit more advanced, you can start to visualize the eyes and the nose because these shapes really help you understand it. So that's what I've kind of focused on learning a lot, that kind of basic shape to organize things and place things. So I've noticed a lot of you in my challenges, some of you have a hard time getting all the proportions right for stuff where it should be on the face and the relative size, but getting that diagram down will really help you. And you can stretch it and pull it to work with any character. Like even the avatar girl I drew recently, this would work for it. So I'm gonna go back to this one and I'm gonna see if I can draw the same thing really lightly. And hopefully you'll be able to learn this kind of shape so well that you can start drawing faces from memory that kind of look like real people. You know, you don't always need a reference to draw a realistic looking face. You'll only need it to get details, and that's a really good place to be at. Because then you can get really good at telling stories without having to rely so much on reference, which is my goal. 69 views, yeah, it's a lot. It's really cool to see so many of you watching. Question, should I buy the iPad Pro or a laptop for drawing? I would suggest the iPad Pro, unless you're really experienced with digital art, because you won't be able to really take advantage of using... The only reason to get a laptop for drawing is if you want to use better programs like Photoshop. And if you're not very experienced, you're not going to really make much out of it, because a laptop is still not even going to be really that much. Photoshop demands a lot of power, and until laptops get a lot more powerful, I still am not really that high on suggesting it. But Photoshop is coming out for the iPad Pro, and it's going to be optimized for it, and over time I'm sure it's going to be actually really good. So yeah, I would still suggest getting an iPad. Yeah. They're from India. Brazil, hello Anna. Brazilians were the most popular before I started YouTube on my Instagram channel. Tati Moons, I don't know what that is. The smaller one? Yeah, the smaller one feels way too small for me. Like, a lot of you ask, this is an iPad Pro 12.9 inch, and my hands are fairly big. I can palm a basketball. It just, I don't know. I thought it was pretty common, but I guess not. So this is the 11.5 inch. To me, feels like it's this big. It's probably a little bit bigger than that, but it feels like a kid's iPad for me, like an iPad mini. So I'm not interested in it. 1 second, I'll be right back. Sorry guys. I wish there was a way to turn off my microphone without turning off the music, but I have to work on that later. So yeah, so I'm trying to get that overall look. Okay, I think this is pretty accurate. I'm noticing this eye's a little bit off to the left. And bear with me, this is kind of an awkward angle for me to draw on, since I want to draw in a way you guys can see. So just loosely defining the eye a little bit more. I'm a very messy sketcher. I'm not sure if I'm interested in fixing that too soon. I'm not, because it's like one of those things that it's hard when you're trying to learn to draw, it's hard to know what will get better with time and what actually you need to focus on to get better. Because there are some things that will just get better with time, and there's some things that will never get better unless you learn it. So like color, for example, that's not going to get better with time unless you make a plan to start getting better with color. So yeah. You're using a Huey, oh yeah, that's really good. A Huey is a decent model. Those are the only other ones I suggest outside of Wacom tablets. So now I'm just basically remembering what I drew. And so this is what helps me. It's a very structured way to draw, to remember the shapes, you know, to think about it in terms of shapes and not focus so much on, it's a lot to look at a face and just start drawing it. But if you can remember the basic shapes and get that down, you start to develop a working memory of the basics, and then you can just draw that without having to use reference every time. And you can tell, like, already mine is a little bit off, but it's still like, it still looks like a face. And I'm going to change things up a little bit depending on how I feel about the character, because one of the things that I like to do in my drawings is play up the character look of it. Like, I don't want to just draw a copy of the model. I want to really make her smile look fun and interesting. Like right now I can visualize how it looks here, and I'm not too satisfied with it. She looks a little bit more like sultry instead of playful. So, you find it hard to paint dark-skinned characters. I think it's pretty objective that darker skin is harder to draw because you have to use more layers. You can't do it quickly. So it takes a lot more patience and a lot more knowledge of the underlying colors to get it right. So don't feel bad about that. So I'm just drawing those same straight lines over here. So yeah, we've drawn the face. And so naturally, it's going to look a little bit different because mine is very symmetric compared to the original. And so there are some things I'm noticing, like this line is longer for her, and I like that, so I'm going to try and edit mine so that it's longer. And then this is something that will come better in time, because sometimes you'll be able to draw what you want, closer to what you want at the beginning. You'll see there's, no matter who's drawing, no matter how experienced they are, you'll always see they adjust something. Now for me, I adjust a lot of stuff because I'm not as advanced as they are, but don't feel bad to adjust stuff. I notice her top lip kind of like comes down, it curves a little bit, just a little bit, so I want to make sure I show that. Yeah. I'm also squinting a lot to get a look for how it looks overall. And I'm going to add in the eyebrows. So it's pretty easy. Now we've got all that down. We know there's a tiny triangle there, and we just draw a straight line and connect it. And we've got the eyebrows done. Some people's eyebrows stay within this shape, sometimes they go outside. So there are a lot of little things here that you can use to draw different types of characters, or just different looking people. Yeah, the iPad, the new Apple Pencil's awesome, because like I can just put it here and it charges really nice. Screen protectors, I am hoping, I asked Procreate to send me a screen protector to try out, and I messed up. They said like, send us an email, and I sent them an email, and I misspelled the email address, and it took me forever to realize that. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to make a video on one soon. I know a lot of you would be interested in that. So now, as per my stylistic choices, I want to refine the shape of her face a little bit. So this is just based on my own like style and my own what I want the character to look like. I'm trying to round her jaw a little bit more so it's not as masculine as it looks. Also, when you're doing this, try not to draw zoomed in too much. It's good to stay zoomed out so you always have a feel for how it looks as a whole. This is a very interestingly shaped neck. It just goes straight out in one curve. Usually most of the time it's like that, but she might be tensing up. I'm going to pull her jaws in a little bit. This is really how I work a lot of the time with my paintings. I just like shift things a lot to get it looking exactly the way I want. And I know she may look different, but it's what I want the character to look like. At the end of the day, that's what matters. So for the eyes, I'm going to basically go and detail them the way I want them to look. Warm skin has cold shadows and cold skin has warm shadows. I haven't heard that. Maybe it's true. The annoying thing about warm and cold shadows is there's a reason to have both depending on the situation. So it makes sense to say cold areas have cold shadows because in shadow it's cold. But it also makes sense to say cold areas have warm shadows because the darker a color is, the more rich it looks, and the brighter it is, the paler it looks. So having a very light pink color can be interpreted as cold, but that can also be because it's in a bright light. You're not going to see a very rich, deep red in bright light. You're going to see a pale red, like a more pinkish color. I'm gonna pull her eyebrows back a little bit. Actually, I changed my mind. I'm gonna erase this. Because she looks a little bit mad and sinister right now, and I want her to look happier. But these are the good problems to have once you get a little bit better at drawing. Because now I'm like, how do I want her to look as a character, instead of being frustrated about, you know, where the head goes. I mean, where the nose goes, where the eyes go, where the eyebrows go. You're now on to like had the fun part of drawing, like designing how you want your character to look instead of just struggling. I think I want to lower her nose a little bit too high. I think that's because I drew her nose smaller than the original. Yeah, I like that. So now we're adding the eyelashes in. Staying loose and zoomed out. Be very careful with the folds down here. It's easy to make the character look old. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna try zooming in. Do you guys think I should zoom in? Is it hard for you to see what I'm doing? Simplifying the eyes is really, you just want to stick to this diamond kite shape. This is what they look like kind of head on, and on the corner they start looking like that. And then eventually the eyes will just look like that when you're looking at them from the side. So like from this side. And then this is what they look like head on. That's kind of the transition. So I'm guessing you guys think it's fine, the screen? How it looks, you can see everything fine when I'm zoomed out like this. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to continue. I'm going to add some detail back into the nose. Okay. And start to add some shadows. Who else draws something that's never satisfied? I'm like that as well. It's very hard for me to be satisfied. Like with this, I could work on it for a while. I could work on this for a while until I'm happy with it. I want to blend away her bottom lip a little bit, because I feel like it makes her lip look like it's tighter, like it is in the reference. Like she's pulling it up. I'm adding some folds here to make it look like she's smiling more. It's really hard to do when you draw something because it tends to make them look old. Like if I were to do this, she looks old immediately. So I'm adding a little bit of a dimple here, a little bit of a crease, just a little bit of one there. So now I feel like I've really captured her expression, which is, you know, that's a good job for me in my book. This is a 12.9 inch iPad. I just have really big hands. This is a really lazy way to shade in eyes, but I'm trying to be quick because I've got 2 more sketches to do. This is, to be honest guys, for me, this is the hardest one. Drawing head-on faces is difficult because it's hard to visualize where those catch points will be, those landmarks. It's really easy to visualize when the face is at 3/4. So you'll notice a lot of my drawings are at 3/4. A lot of the portraits I draw, they're at 3/4 angle. So I'm going to quickly fill in the hair very loosely here. I'm going to look at it in chunks. So I see let me show you guys how I see hair. This isn't enough information for me to make a tutorial, but this is the first thing I would do. So this is how I would look at the hair. Like I can see this piece right here. So I'm not going to copy it exactly, but I want to know that there's a piece over here. I see this movement. There's a chunk here. You know, they always say look at it in chunks, but that's really how you want to do it. You know, it's coming back up here, comes back around like that. There's another one coming back here. It splits into 2, but we don't need to look at that. And then there's this whole chunk here going that way. And like when you identify these chunks, basically what you're doing is shading these chunks like these soft little clay pieces, and you would just shade them like how you would shade, you know, the typical ball with light shining on it, like that, right? So you can see the same thing here. There's a highlight, there's a rim highlight, coarse shadow, and reflected light down here. It's the same thing. So I would look at that movement, that's a piece, and then basically these are random little pieces there. They're not focused parts of the hair. And so a lot of you might be tempted to do this and then you'll color exactly within those lines, but that's not what you want to do. You just want to use it as a guide because the hair is alive, it flows. There's a lot of pieces that don't follow this. Sometimes the pieces go like that, sometimes the pieces cross over, or not pieces but strands, you know, like that. So that's the basic shape. I'm not going to go into that much detail now because I'm trying to move on. But another key thing to hair, I'm very loose with it, and I will just take a mistake and run with it because having loose lines makes hair look so good. So I'm using my arm a lot more when I draw hair. And I'll just leave my mistake lines there. Because the loose lines are really what makes it look good. This is a very easy hairstyle for me to draw because it's in really clear chunks that are big, and it can be represented by a lot of just loose lines like that. You know, you don't want to try and get it right and draw that way like I do with my sketches, but you want to be looser. Gonna imagine what the top of her hair looks like since I can't see it. or since I cropped it. Being very loose. That's usually how I start my hair off. I just want to capture the direction. So as a final touch before I move on to the next one, I probably won't do this with the other ones, but I'm going to just erase the guidelines for you guys to see the final result. Final in quotes. Because there's still a lot more work to put into this. Huh. My music run out. Alright, there we go. So, yeah. What do you guys think? Was it helpful? Whoa. You know what, I think I'm just going to do 2 in this live stream, because one of the other ones is going to be pretty much the same thing, but the other one is quite different. So yeah, it's pretty different from the reference, but you can still tell it's from that reference, and it's definitely a valuable expression that we've captured. We've captured the most important parts of this girl's face and character, I believe. So I'm going to look at the comments for a little bit since I've been neglecting them so much. A tutorial on how to do hair? No. I think I talked about that enough already. Screen character eye cares? Yes, it is. Super chill and patient. Chill when drawing. Yeah, Newton, it's so important too. Drawing is too hard already. Drawing shoulders in one strong long stroke. Yeah, you want to try to do everything in like as few strokes as possible, but it's really tricky to learn that. You really gotta trust yourself a lot. Quirky? Yeah, I do too. Redberg, Julia. There's a lot of tweaks I would still make. I think I'd make her top lip thinner like the reference, but it's still, I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm going to move on to the second one. This is the final result. Oh, let's go ahead and... Well, I'll do that at the end. So the next one is a special treat for you guys because it's a guy. Haha. I'm drawing a guy. How long have I been drawing? Since I was 12. So almost 12 years. It'll be 12 years next week, because my birthday's next week. Yay, getting old. Face reveal? No, it's not me. I wish it was me, Marie. No, I have grown into my face now, I think. I used to think I was bad looking when I was younger. Oh, I was about to draw it as if I was just gonna start from scratch like me, but I gotta teach you guys stuff, so let's take a step back. I'm gonna sketch over this. Oh, thank you, Agu. So with this one, it's at 60 or 75 degrees turned to the right. I am not, my little degree help things, I need to find them for a video, but yeah, it's about 60 to 75 degrees turned, I think. What if he did and never said anything? What do you mean? Oh, I've said, I've showed my face before on Instagram, but that was a while ago. So with this face, I want to capture that he's turned. So the most important thing to notice here and latch on to is basically the face is like, his face is basically like this right now. If you were to draw it as a box, I'm actually just gonna draw it for you guys right here. It's hard to figure out the perspective because it's not a flat plane. Yeah, there we go. This is kind of how this guy's face looks. I mean, his face is turned because of the camera lens. There's a little bit of distortion so that this area looks really big. But yeah, that's how his face. It's the box that's been turned. And if we were to look at the inside, it's like that. This takes quite a bit of time to be able to visualize and see. But of course we have stuff that's attached to the front of the face, and that's why it looks like I'm drawing it wrong. But yeah, if there was a cube inside of his head, that's how it would look. That's what it would look like. So I'm actually going to keep this in the corner. So that line is basically here. You want to be able to look for this kind of line. So this is the forehead plane. Then you have this is basically the top of the eye socket, which looks like that, if you know how a skeleton looks. And then this is the cheekbone. And then we come down here. And then there's his chin. You can just simplify it into a straight line right there. Then we have the jawline. And then this is just basically, I don't remember what it was. There's fat and a little bit of muscle down there. But it's the bone of his jaw is right here. Like that. Comes up. I have the side of the hair. Doesn't always match up with the hair depending on the hairstyle. The side of the face comes down just like the one we drew from before, and then that's it. That's all we can see of the center of his face, because it comes down like that. That's where his center line would be. And so we have the same thing over here, so I can get started drawing the mask again. So it comes down there and would go up over there. We can draw the mask as it comes down to the nose again. And the center there. Drew this a little bit off. Now the mask method is just a simplification, so it's never going to really perfectly match up with the bone structure of everyone, but it does relatively. It's still always good for placing the anatomy. Oh, there's 99 people. That's cool. Hey. Always streaming? Oh, I've cut down on my stream so much. And so you see it comes back up again a little bit, since we're only we're not looking at a perfect profile. So if we wanted to, we can draw it like that. So yeah. Let's get rid of this. So some people's faces actually adhere to this perfectly. And the closer it would adhere to this, typically the more attractive they are in the general sense. But yeah, so now we can get into the face anatomy. So the nose here is usually a lot easier for me to understand and draw when it's at this angle. So there's a lot of ways to simplify it. Let me think of the best one. Yeah, I think this is better. So the nose kind of lines up with that edge. So you can just draw a line to the tip of it. Draw a line up there. It doesn't connect all the way down there because remember this line is the center and it goes back up to the other side of his face. So we can draw that for basically the bigger chunk of his nose. Everything else is kind of the bridge. And that's the center line, and then this is the rest of the ridge of his face. So remember when we drew that kind of triangular piece to place it? This is how it would look in that kind of corner side angle. Like that. So it's the same thing with the eyebrows. Draw a straight line to connect with there. And then there's a little piece like that. Over there. You can just, we don't need to draw the edge of the face because that's pretty self-explanatory. So like I said before, head on, the eye is really simplified into this almost perfectly symmetrical diamond shape. But as it begins to rotate, this part gets smaller. So it would be like that. That's how his eyes look. And if you kept doing it, eventually you would just draw the eye like that. And they're just looking that way. But that's how his eyes look. So we're going to do that one as our simplification. Who here is Asian? Officially tracer. Oh yeah, tracing all the time. Since you don't have a tablet, well, you can. So before, if you wanted to, you can get a light pad, get some trace paper, and print this out. And you can study faces like that. Or you don't even need a light pad, just get some trace paper and you should be able to see through the trace paper, which is really cheap. And yeah, you can draw on it. So for the eye, we're going to do the same thing. Triangle. Now his eyes are a little bit angled down that way, so we're going to show that. So instead, this is where the line is. Right. I'm going to get rid of those lines. And then for the mouth, he has a lot of obvious angles, so I'm going to draw all of them. So you got this angle here, because like again, the mouth is basically has this angle. That's basically the line of the mouth for everyone. Some people have less or more depending on how they're making their mouth, or if they're smiling, or if they're sad. You know, it's different, but most people have that. Some people have another one. And then the lips are usually like this, with two larger circles that look, it looks like they have two masses under the lips like that. That's how you want to render them. And then the top usually is like this, comes down. Sometimes it comes down like that. Sometimes it has an angle too. Sometimes it comes around like this. So there's a lot of different things, and it's usually closely tied to the race. So this person comes around like that, up, down like that, up. You see the other portion come down. This comes up again, then back down, and back to the other side of the face. Straight line here. Horizontal line, and it comes back, kind of curves around again because we're looking at it from the side. So yeah, that's the basic structure. You can see kind of looks like a robot. And then for the rest of the head, I'm sure any of you who've seen a skull know that the head comes back further than the actual, it doesn't just stay like this. This is where kind of the face ends. But the skull is actually a lot bigger than that. This is where the rest of your brain is. And then the neck, depending on if he's male or female, if he's built or not built, that's kind of where it resides. It inserts to the back of the neck at the bottom, where the kind of jaw and the skull meet. And then you have the ear. As we all know, the top lines up with the top of the eyebrow, and the bottom usually lines up with the bottom of the nose. Give or take a little bit, depending on who you're drawing. So, now we're going to draw our own here. So it's going to be a little bit challenging, since we can't just start off with the center. But like I said, for me, this is the easier type to draw. So what I'm going to do is simplify this line right here to get started. And I'm going to simplify this triangular shape. So I notice it's about at the same height to start off that corner. So I'm going to pick a distance here, and I'm going to pick a distance below here, and I'm just going to try and match that line. This one. Drawing that heart shape again. So now I'm drawing that line right there. Very small. I think next I'm going to start drawing the medium line. Like that. So that one, I'm going to try to connect the rest of his face together. So I'm noticing this angle is a little bit different from the one I drew, so I'm going to flatten it out. I'm going to draw that ridge. I'm going to draw the line up here to connect it. Oops, got to switch the eraser there. Okay, so now I'm going to draw a line like this, like I drew that time. And I drew the line like this to start off with, so let's cut it off there. And then now we know that there's a horizontal line here for his jaw. Part is a little bit tricky. But yeah. And so if we visualize where that line will end up, we can draw it like that. Bring this line down. Autodesk Sketchbook is pretty good. So now I'm going to draw the other line for the triangle, the kind of middle triangle for the nose. Trying to remember where it is, so if we draw a line for kind of the middle point here, kind of compare that shape at the bottom. So right now I'm noticing that this seems a little bit long, so I'm going to pull that in. Kind of cut this off there. I don't like drawing so close to the edge, so I'm just going to pull it over here, even though this is a good place to put it because I still have the whole rest of the head to draw him. So that's the basics of his face, and now I'm going to kind of put his eye socket in there. The eye socket lines up with that kind of curve at the top of the bridge of the nose. His eyebrow line in there. Draw that. And then I'm going to take that line down, just like we did on the reference. Go ahead and draw his eyebrow in there. Draw the second one, like that. You know his nose kind of comes in like that. Getting the nose, how far the nose comes out is tricky. But we've already simplified it, so we knows it should be like this. If you came for dad jokes, this is the place to be. So we're gonna pick a place to draw a horizontal line, like that. Now notice my nose is a little bit turned up, so I'm gonna fix that. So I'm gonna draw this line a little bit lower. And being able to catch that kind of stuff quickly comes with time. And then eventually you just won't make this mistake in the first place. Draw the line up. So we have that nice parallelogram. For those of you who are still in school, you'll know what that is. This guy doesn't have too much of an expression, just kind of like a little proud smile. So notice his lip stops about there. If you notice here back in the reference, you can see where the rest of his lip is under. So I'm going to start with that. We see that it comes a little bit outside. Drawing the fleshy part of his chin right now. I don't think I left enough space for his mouth, so I'm going to move that down just a little bit, not too much. It's kind of a crutch of digital art, but you know, we'll talk about that for another time. So we're drawing the horizontal part for the bottom of his lip there, and coming back that line. Back up there. We know his lip isn't on that edge, it's inside a little bit, it's inset. Like that. And then we have some lines to draw. So we know we have this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll do 1. Let me fix that a little bit. 1, 2, it's a little bit too far in. 2, 3, and 4, like that. I'm gonna match that line. We come back and curve around like I showed you with the different types of the mouths. Down, and his lips come back up. It's like that. So it's very rough, but we're trying to be very accurate with our proportions here. So right now I can tell, okay, this is pretty good. This looks like a person. This looks similar to him. It's a little bit more, you know, idealistic, but that's really the best way to learn how to draw, because if you want your characters to be repeatable, it's better to make them more simple. And so we're drawing that portion, which is, you know, if you tap the bottom of your face. I wish I could show you now. This is where I would have like a cam off to like right here to show you my face when I do my face reveal. I might show you guys what I look like while I draw, but yeah. That part, we're drawing that there. A lot of people get confused and think that's the jaw, but it's not. And so he looks like he's a pretty built guy, so you can't really see the rest of his neck there. But we do know the ear is in this kind of area right here. I never pay that much attention to the ear. But yeah, now we're gonna draw the rest of his face. If we think about like how robot heads are, kind of how their faces are shaped. And they have a skull. Like that. Oh, I drew that line way too far out. I drew those lines way too close to his chin. Yeah. I was like, why does his head look like a monster head? Jeez. Yeah, this is where we would do the rest of the dreads. Being very loose with the hair, just trying to convey direction. So like that. Like that. And just draw a pattern. Being very loose. Trying to put in as much information as I can, as fast as I can, so that I can edit it later. So that's kind of what his shape looks like. So let's go back and adding a little bit more of the bigger details. And so right now you can kind of tell this overall shape we have is pretty aesthetic. So let's hide this or lower the opacity. This is what I was getting into when I was saying you should compare other artists, because the shapes that they use or have come up with for their own art is something that you may want to emulate. So for me, this is close to kind of Jraw's style, because I like his style a lot. A lot of his girls will have that kind of shape to it. So if your character can be condensed into a simple shape like that, we know that's a pretty nice shape. You know, it's very consistent, very smooth, very streamlined. His face doesn't adhere to that too much, but when you draw a character, you want people to understand the design and enjoy the design. You want it to be led by some pretty simple silhouettes. So I'm pretty happy with that shape overall. And you should kind of follow this shape to guide your shading later on. So if I want to detail this fully, which I might, I would focus the detail here and slowly fade the details out so that it really emphasizes that kind of shape there. Drink some water and look at your comments. What hairstyle do I have? It's a very boring one, I'll tell you that. Not nearly as cool as this guy's. Shh, don't tell them, Marie. I might do it at 100K. No, I won't do a self-portrait. No. Josh draws Peppa Pig. I'm thinking of doing some I draw characters soon. I think those would do well. I don't know. But I don't know if I would do Peppa Pig. Draw me as a female. I might joke and do that face reveal instead and have a female filter. Oh, it's Sunday already in India? Jeez. RIP Saturday school. Mm-hmm. Oh geez, I realize you guys can probably hear me drinking. Sorry. Alright, so let's... Oh, mad clicks? I already get mad clicks from kids, believe it or not. So let's get in the eye. I didn't even draw that yet. This is pretty easy since we already have everything set up, you know, it's pretty hard. I think anyone given this would have a hard time drawing the eye like that as a mistake. But yeah. So you see, you know, I traced. Tracing is bad, but we were still able to learn a lot and replicate what we learned freehand. That's the key. So when you're drawing at an angle, the eye is not going to be like this, right? It's going to be at an angle, an oval like this, because the eye is at a cone. So if you want to be really realistic, the circle would be back here, because the iris is shaped like that. It's concave. So we're drawing his eyes are pretty deep set in, which is usually an attractive feature for males if you're trying to draw a tough, masculine looking male character. I realize now that I actually want to move his nose out further. It's a little bit too set in, something I didn't catch until I started adding more details. And turn off magnetism off. Magnetics. I drew it a little bit too big. Yeah. Whoa. The things I need to learn that what are called is like, there's something about this brow, it's called a specific thing, and so is this area. Is it Cupid's bow or something? I don't remember. I gave him kind of like an anime chin. I made him look very, I don't know how much you guys know, but very Bishi Shoujo. I don't know how it's pronounced. I'm gonna show you guys the anime books I learned from tomorrow. Yeah, it just holds my pencil. Sometimes I want to just throw it down there. Yeah, there used to be a 99 people jam. That's crazy. I think people like these types of little quick tutorials. But yeah, this one's mostly done with. I'm very proud of this one. Partially it's because, you know, I'm much better at drawing 3/4 faces, but it's also because this is the second drawing I've done today. And so every drawing you do, usually your brain gets a lot more, you get better at it. Your brain's like, all right, I kind of know what's going on, here. So gonna make it a little bit easier for you to do what you want since you keep doing it. And it gets easier to draw every day that you draw. And sometimes you need to take a break or else you'll burn out. But yeah. So this is something that's tricky that many people don't catch. You usually won't see very much of the face on the other side. Wait, I like how this looks like a bun. So I'm gonna draw a bun here. Oh yeah. Have I really been drawing for that long? Oh, that's what I thought. Okay. So as you can see, it takes me 40 minutes to do a practice and a sketch. So the hard part of making a video out of this, if I were to do that, would be finding which parts to speed up and which parts not to speed up. So yeah, at this point, I think it's pretty clear, you know, that my method is proven to be successful. Haha. So I'm just gonna work on this for a little bit more and try to answer some questions, and then I will end the live stream. So yeah. You can see I draw a lot of inspiration from anime, from Square Enix, their character designs, and from Disney. Can you draw for 24 hours? No. I cannot do stuff like that guy, ZHC. He's a very good artist, but he's also a very, very, very intense. I cannot do that. I watched some of his video, I was like, wow, this guy's crazy. But it's, you know, I mean, theoretically, every artist kind of does something similar, but maybe not for 24 hours at once. But any artist that's able to, you know, put out content seriously like that has to be able to sit down and get something done. Like these drawings, I'm so glad I got footage of them. PewDiePie, I might start drawing a lot more people and characters like that. Peter Draws, oh I love him. 10-second, no, that one's too stressful for me. I don't like those, because it's like, I'd have to plan what they actually end up looking like. I'd have to plan it too much, and I feel like that ruins the video. I feel like all three of the drawings would just end up being super unfinished, because I wouldn't be able to estimate the time well. And if I plan the drawing video, then that'd suck. I'd be cheating. But no one would know except for me. iPad Pro for beginners, I mean, I would recommend the best thing that you can get, but an iPad, if you're a beginner, any iPad that you can draw on is going to be good. So if you're a beginner, I would recommend the cheaper one, obviously, because it's always better to start slow, because you never know if you want to do it, and it's better not to overwhelm yourself with features, which is why I like the iPad in general for beginners, because it's a lot simpler than Photoshop, and you won't be able to waste as much time looking for brushes for Procreate and stuff than you will for Photoshop, because I have spent countless hours downloading brushes before. Not a good idea. You got that ASMR voice, yep. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Peter draws, yeah, he does as well. He was a channel that I was looking at a lot when I was trying to grow this. I was like, what kind of channels could I emulate? Especially for my second channel that I've pretty much abandoned. There's so many videos I'm not sure if I want to put on this channel or that channel. I don't want to make everyone mad. But, you know, gotta take risks at some point, right? That's how you grow. Let's give him a cute red nose like I do with all the other girls. What device did I use when I was a beginner? I used a Wacom Intuos. Pretty much the upgrade of the Wacom Bamboo thing. It was, the drawing area was like this big, and I would just look at my laptop in front of me to draw. Is anyone subscribed to any of these artists? Lamia Crescent, Ahmed Al-Duri, Sarah Tepes, Lucid Pixel, Cynics, Ross Draws, Sycra, Eric Anthony, I'm forgetting the really big ones' names for some reason. There's also... Why am I forgetting? Draw with Jazza. Ooh, that I just went to my channel on my phone. The thumbnail looks really good. I'm really glad I took that picture really quick. I almost didn't take a new picture for this. So. How long has this stream been going on? Oh, okay. It's almost an hour and 30 minutes, which I think is a perfect time. So I'm going to end it in like 30 seconds. So everyone, thanks so much for watching. Stitch says thanks as well. It has been great. I have had a great time learning stuff. Oh yeah, Loish. Can't forget Loish. Oh yeah, Draw of Waffles. No, I do not have a girlfriend, Webby Links. How do you know that, Javel? Yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow with my new video. I hope I make it, guys. Send me your creative energy. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.